and welcome to Abstract Essay, where the essay shape thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest, one of her advocacy, leading well, living full, helping people heal from burnout and thrive with purpose, none other than Dr. Melanie Gray. Yes, welcome, Dr. Melanie. And
Oh, thank you so much.
can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
I certainly can. I am Dr. Melanie Gray, the confidence coach hailing from the United States, the great state of Wisconsin, which for location is about 90 minutes from Chicago. I am a nurse. I have a master's in nursing education and a PhD in online education. I have spent many years in the facet of clinical nursing and in nursing education. I have seen people wear themselves out for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more. And to what end? It is important to have, we all need to work, but there's more to us than work. And my passion is in helping people learn to live well, stop the madness in their lives, and set their own trajectory and plan for and definition for success and well-being.
Dr. Melanie Gray, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
My good
Thank
pleasure.
thank you. So today let's talk about the burnout myth. Why working harder is not the way to heal. So tell us, let's start with the title itself. How do you call burnout a myth? If it's not real, what are the millions of people experiencing?
Well, they are experiencing burnout. Burnout is real. It's a real phenomenon that happens when people are working really hard. They are not paying attention to what their body is saying, what their uh, mental health is saying, and it happens in all kinds of careers. It can be seen as mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, physical pain. It may result in depression, and it can often be not solely because of work and the expectations of work, but just the expectations of life. And it can happen at any point in
Expectation.
someone's career because we just become so busy. It's caused by stress, too much on the mind, too much on the body.
Dr. Melanie, we often equate burnout with overwork. What are the deeper, more systemic root causes that just work harder mindset completely misses?
Well, working hard is loving. They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? So I think in some regard, burning out because you're just doing the task and the business of the work without the real satisfaction that we think should come from what we do can result in burnout. I think that ultimately people have to differentiate between what I am doing for money to sustain my life and my family. What does that really require of me? And what am I doing to fulfill myself? Every all of our identity and satisfaction should not just come from a job. So when we're imbalanced and not feeding ourselves from the things that we have to do, like work, the things we might like to do, like listen to music, play an instrument, paint, sing, we have to we and be with friends and family. We need all of we're whole holistic beings with minds, bodies, and spirits. We have to feed the whole person. It's not just about the job.
How is burnout often less about exhaustion and more about a crisis of identity, purpose, or values for high achievers?
Well, when a high achiever is just focusing on the title and the income and the elevation, then they lose sight of their identity. They don't spend time looking at their entire selves. So if you only focus on one thing, even iron wears out, right? If you wear it, if you burn that iron or use it enough, it will wear out. So burnout can be a part, a facet of not not you utilizing your whole self, seeing your whole yourself as a whole, and just focusing intently on one thing. You're not giving yourself the width and the breath to stop. My framework is about scanning. Stop it. Scan your entire body. Listen to what your body is saying. Listen to the pain in your neck. Listen to the fact that, pay attention to the fact that you cannot sleep. You have to listen to your body and be willing to make the changes. So if you're not doing that, if you're not spending time with friends, if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating, if you're not exercising, and all you are doing is working, you are going to drive yourself into the ground because you are a human being first. Even if you want to there's nothing wrong with having ambition and motivation. There's nothing wrong with ambition, but you must be balanced because the truth is, no matter how hard you work, it's not a guarantee for the next promotion. It's not a guarantee. So then what are you left with? What are you left
Exhaust,
with?
exhaustion.
Exhaustion and looking at yourself in the mirror saying, what for? Because you know as well as I do, I'm sure that when it comes to promotion, it isn't the person always that works the hardest that gets the promotion anyway. It's who likes you or who
Yes,
has a favor or who your parent is. I mean, it is not our career paths are not always fair and level playing fields. And that's just the way it is.
definitely, Dr. Melanie. And, well, how is burnout, or in what ways burnout misdiagnosed as a personal failure rather than a logical response to an unhealthy environment or to set of demands?
Well, I think it's up to each individual to not allow their circumstance or their situation to be labeled. It is not a failure to be tired. You're a human being. It is not a failure to need sleep and rest. Research has proven without a doubt that stress leads to disease, chronic illness, mental illness, anxiety. The research across the world, across every nation, has proven this to be true. So it is not a personal of a failure if a person determines that the level of work that they are doing is leading them to a point of burnout. It is proven across science that the body and people need rest and good nutrition and exercise. It is proven by the science that sitting at a desk too long and inactivity at a desk puts people at risk for chronic disease, mental illness, earlier dementia, and Alzheimer's. We shouldn't want that for anybody. We shouldn't want that for ourselves. So it is not a failure to step back and say, maybe this isn't working for me. Maybe I really want this promotion, but I'm not going to get it at this job because what they are asking of me is not sustainable. And I want to sustain myself. What's wrong with valuing and wanting to live well? Because if you fall out, your job is just going to move on without you, and they might not even send you a plant. They'll just move on, get someone else to do
Definitely.
your work.
Dr. Melanie, how do modern work culture, with their constant connectivity, praise of hustle, and glorification of busyness, actively create a perpetuate the very conditions for burnout?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you that those situations perpetuate burnout. But we as workers, so employees, have to advocate for themselves that the workplace become more trauma informed, sympathetic to the experiences of workers and what the organization is asking. I believe that organizational leaders have to also become more trauma informed and be sensitive to the uh, past experiences, current challenges that our people in our workforce and in our communities are actually facing. I believe that everyone who looks at the news and hears about the war in Ukraine, what's happening in Gaza and Israel, seeing everything go up because of tariffs and prices and inflation around the world, everyone is feeling some kind of way and having some stress. Organizational leaders in our jobs must recognize that people cannot totally disengage with the world and their needs of their family, the needs of their parents, the needs of their kids, just because they're coming to work. And we must have more sensitive, kinder work environments. And I think workers have to advocate for that as an organization. Individuals, each of us need to look at our own lives and really be honest about our needs and be willing to pivot and change so that we take care of ourselves. It's a movement that I believe needs to happen.
It's a movement indeed. And why is the common advice to power through or a dig deeper not just unhelpful, but actually harmful and likely to make the burnout worse in the long run?
Yeah, it doesn't pay to keep digging deeper when you're in pain and keep pushing through because again the compounded stress, there is a term called, vicarious trauma, that people are not only traumatized by things that happen to them, but also by situations and trauma and stress that they are repeatedly exposed to in their realm of work or service, right? So just pushing through when it you is not the answer. Having the grace, the support to pause, to pivot to a new role, a new job, a new going back to school, might be the answer, the better answer for some people. I know that in this time of the with the economy and so much uncertainty that people might not feel comfortable leaving a job if they have one, because it does take, it does take longer to get one. There's just so much uncertainty. But what can you do to put some boundaries around the your role in your job so that you have some space for yourself? Do you have time off? Can you take off early on Fridays, that you have paid time off or vacation time to give yourself a few more hours with your, for yourself? Can Do you put time on your calendar for yourself? I think we have to be intentional about scheduling time to take care of ourselves, for to read a book, to go for a walk, to get a coach to help you lose weight and take better care of yourself. We have to be intentional about our care, because there is a compounded effect. If you're young, you won't be young forever. If you're older, you want to determine and choose how you age in the last years of your career. So everything has a cost. And we have to remember that we are not going to live forever, but we must choose how we live with the time we've been given.
Many companies offer yoga classes and mindfulness apps as a burnout solution. Why are these well-intentioned perks often just a brand aid and or a band aid that fails to address the real problem?
Well, I think that those offerings are good intentions, but if it's the culture of the organization that really drives a lot of the stress. So you can have a yoga class and offer it, but if the culture in your organization is high pressure, if people are not given time to take their lunch, if they're not offered the opportunity to leave work on time and go be with their families, if there are too many changes going on in the organization and new uh, innovations in the organization are not onboarded in a good way where people can feel good and confident about the change versus stress, it doesn't matter what courses you offer. It's about the culture, a culture of wellness in the workplace.
Dr. Melanie, if burnout is not an empty gas tank that can be refilled with vacation, what is the more accurate metaphor for what's actually happening to a person's systems?
Well, burnout is real, but a vacation alone isn't going to solve the burnout if a person is going back to the job with the same mindset, with the same inability for lunch, to go to the bathroom, to take time off. If the culture is so high pressured, it doesn't change the burnout. Burnout is real and it's based on the individual. We all have different capacities for managing stress. But it is essential that we all are aware of what our true capacity is and that we are honest with ourselves about that. And sometimes we have to be honest with those in our lives, our significant others, our spouses, our parents, and we have to say this is not working for me. How can we work together to allow me to pivot and find something that might offer a more healthy environment? A person's feelings are real. We can never dismiss them. but we only have so much influence over the cultures that we work in. So we can either modify our response to the culture, we can advocate to change the culture, or we can just make a pivot. And what a person does depends on their circumstance, and it may take time, but they need to I think have a willingness to change.
A willingness to change, for sure. For someone who's deeply burned out and has always believed that their own worth is tied to their productivity, what is the first gentlest step away from the hardest is better narrative?
Well, I think you have to believe that you're worth more. I think the first thing you have to do is have a a mantra or a an affirmation to yourself that I'm worth more, that I'm a gift and I have value. And you have to tell yourself that. It doesn't matter how you feel. If you are your own best cheerleader. And if you out of the mouth, I believe the heart speaks. So you have to change your heart and change your belief by speaking well to yourself about yourself to give yourself the courage to change. We Your job is just a title, but it's nothing that we carry to eternity anyway, right? When and you know what's really interesting, so I've lived quite a long time in my career. I've gone to, unfortunately, I've in life you go to funerals and you talk to the kids, and I'll say, "Oh, I worked with your parent, your mom, your dad, and it was wonderful." And then you know what they say? Well, what did they do? Really? I know she was a nurse, but did she really do all that? What did he or she do? And I say that to say that you can put all of your energy into a job and for 10, 20, 30 years or more. And at the end of the day, most people won't even remember 5, 6 months after you've done it. So, why do you want just a job to define who you are in your life and the value of what you contribute to the world? You need more, you deserve more, you're made for more. You have to believe that. Tell yourself that. And get people around you who will help you, who are going to undergird you, support you, encouraging and having encourage you to have more and be better.
Dr. Melanie, is it epidemic of burnout is a symptom of a deeper societal yearning or yearning for a different way to live and work? Or what is a yearning really about?
I can't speak for all people. I will be a little biased if you allow me to be a little biased in what I'm going to say. I think too many people are driven by the expectations of others and social media. And we're getting too many cues from people who don't know us, aren't invested in us, don't pay our bills, don't partner with us in reality. And instead of letting social media and the outside expectations of strangers drive us, we need to pause and really get to become aware of ourselves and really, really reflect. I haven't read a book in a long time. I love to read. Maybe I need to do that. And I like to read about entrepreneurship. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I like to read about it. Maybe I'm going to start doing that. So rather than getting our cues from the outside, that's become an epidemic. I think busyness has become an epidemic, and we're so often being driven by outside external forces that we aren't even aware of the gift that we are and the gift that we bring and what is really deep inside us that needs to be elevated and unearthed so that we can really live in peace and joy. I think we've got it all wrong. We have to celebrate ourselves, and we are the knowers, not everybody else. But we're not with ourselves, I think, often enough. uh to and spend enough time with ourselves to really be self-aware. And self-awareness is really key.
Dr. Melanie, was there a specific moment in your own life or practice where the concept of burnout myth crystallized for you?
Oh,
Shift,
yes.
yes.
Hmm. Yes. I would honestly say it's about 20 years ago because I've been working a long time, like I told you now. Don't tell everybody, but I've been don't tell my secret. But I've been working a long time. I started working when I was 17 years old. And I would say in my 40s, was going through a season where I was taking care of my elderly mother, taking care of my elderly dad. My dad was getting dementia. My mother was, struggling on her little pension. Then there was a recession, and my husband didn't lost most of his clients and his work, and then he got sick with leukemia. So it was just me supporting everybody, and I was working, 40, 60 hours a week. And I worked so hard that my body would hurt. When I lay in bed, my body would be so tired and it would hurt so much um, that, I couldn't even have you touch me. And that made me think, okay, I was working really hard, going through all this, and then I had a coworker who I was working with, and she hurt herself. She had a back injury, and the organization didn't support her, and I was appalled. I was tired myself, but I was appalled by her treatment. And that was the point that I said, I need to find a way to better manage this so I'm not working so much. And I'm going to pull back. I know I have to work, but I'm going to pull back from some of the things I'm doing. And maybe I need to go back to school or something so that I have other choices. Because if I hurt my back doing all this work and I poop out, they're not going to support me either. And so that kind of resulted in me ultimately making some changes. I went back to school, got my master's, and then my doctorate. So I didn't go back to school honestly till I was in my early mid 40s, so I've been nursing a long time. And so I share that to tell anyone that you can pivot at any age. And for young people to know, your younger audience members to know they can change at any time in their lives. Don't get caught up and wait as long as maybe I did. Do it earlier if you need to, but don't be afraid to do it.
Dr. Melanie, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my Abstract essay is already in fifth season, Abstract Poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my Food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in the third season, and Movie 101 review, Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Melanie, if you could get if you get every person struggling with burnout, what is your piece of advice to them?
I would tell them to stop it, to scan and listen to their bodies, to tell themselves the truth about what they are actually feeling, to let their no be no and unapologetically no. Don't feel you have to do anything, to pause and to have positive people in your life if you don't, and be willing to initiate new and uh, better uh, friends and priorities and values that really fuel you, and to be willing to thrive and lead for yourself, to be willing to get away from the busyness and take care of themselves, because self-care is healthcare.
Self-care. Indeed. And Dr. Melanie Gray, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now? Dr.
Please
Melanie?
visit me at
Yes.
Dr. Melanie Gray, theconfidencecoach.com.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Melanie Gray because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Dr. Melanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Morning on, people. See you soon.